What is up, guys? Welcome to another video, and today we are going to go ahead and review Forza Motorsport 7. So I now have around 12 hours game time. I've just to kind of put this out as a bit of a disclaimer. Microsoft did send me this code, so I thought I'd just let you guys know that before we get into this, just so you know. I've had about 12 hours in the game. I've progressed, I would say, around halfway through the career mode, but I've done a lot of other things in between to kind of get, progress through the game, and I feel like I've got a good grasp of what Forza Motorsport 7 is like. Now, some would argue, why haven't you finished the career mode? Surely you'd have to finish the career mode to really understand what the game is like. I personally don't think that. I feel like I have really experienced everything the game has to offer, so off that I'm going to go ahead and talk about, what I think. And keep in mind, I've played every single Forza Motorsport there is, period. So I know what these games tend to offer. I've played most of them through all the way, so when I was going into this one, I kind of knew what to expect. So I'm not speaking from my ass when I'm saying this. This is an actual constructive opinion. I gave this game a go, going in hoping it was going to be very good, and I was pleasantly surprised. But there's definitely still big glaring issues which are still there. But that's things that are still a problem. So we're going to go ahead and talk about that into today's video. So I think we should go ahead and talk about the good points first. There is quite a few, to be fair, but it's one of those things, there's a lot more bad points, or little kind of critiques I have, than there is good things to say. So I'm going to go ahead and talk about the good things first. Right, number one, we need to get this out of the way with, because this is just a good thing, the car list. The car list is absolutely phenomenal. Anyone who's played Forza car list, you will know that it's just stupidly big at this point, because they just stockpile cars from last games, and they focus so much on the DLCs, which again I have a problem with, but the fact they do that, and the fact they kind of stockpile everything up after you have so much DLC from all the past games, and then you're adding all the cars from the past games, it's just going to become huge. That, as well as Porsche coming in as one of the big kind of leads for this game, really cool to see. Obviously there's an absence of Toyota, so if that really does bother you, you know, but for me at least, that is not really a problem. Just because you can't have a Supra, I'm sure there's something else in the car list which is going to tickle your fancy. So yeah, I want to get that out of the way. The car list is good. I will say some of it's a bit weird, some of it's a bit repeated, and some of it's a bit botched. The number they bring out isn't really the real number, because you've got repeated NASCARs. A lot of the Hoonigan cars from the Hoonigan pack are actually already in the game. I believe the FC's in the game, although I can't tell you that specifically, but you get what I mean. There's duplicates of some cars. So whatever number they've given is inaccurate. I don't know what the actual number is itself, but all I know is it's probably give or take about 30 or 40 less than the specific number. As well as that, a lot of the Fast and Furious cars, which we saw in previous games for Forza Motorsport 6, so the Skyline and a few of the other Fast and Furious cars, don't make an appearance in this game, nor do the body kits, which I thought was really weird, because if you were doing a Fast and Furious pack, you'd think you'd include the Fast and Furious cars from last time as well. They've got the models. I'm pretty sure they're in Horizon 3, if I'm not mistaken, so they've definitely got the models. Even if it's not in Horizon 3, they've got them in Horizon 2 and Forza 6, so they have the models, and they're there ready to be put in. They've even got the physics from Forza 6, so I actually don't know why those cars aren't in the game. So I'm talking about obviously the Skyline, the Supra, but we all know why the Supra's not in the game. It's just a bit weird to me that those cars aren't there, and nor are the body kits for those cars. The Vilslide 350Z, again, doesn't make a lot of sense to why those cars aren't in the game, and they've added in cars which are a bit pointless, like the BRZ, the Fast and Furious BRZ is a bit pointless. It's literally just a Rocket Bunny BRZ with a badge on, and that's it. Anyway, I thought I'd just mention that there is many duplicates in this game, so whatever the car list number says, it's not accurate. The sound is very, very good. Sound is one of those things that, Forza's always done pretty well. I'm sure you can sit here and nitpick for specific cars that don't have a specific turbo spooling up sound, but for the most part, the sounds are good. If you're, if you're just a casual player, you're going to enjoy it. You can nitpick, and there is, I guess, certain sounds which aren't going to be as good as you probably think they will be, but whatever. The sounds are good. They're not bad. This wasn't Gran Turismo 6 again, so yeah. Forza sounds are always pretty much good. One thing which I can say, which is an absolute huge plus point, which is completely new, is the progression. So as we know, Forza has been missing progression for a very, very long time, and we finally have it in the form of car, well, is it called car level? Is it a car collection level, I think it's called? So, yeah, there's a car collection level in the game. Essentially, the more cars you buy, the higher this collection goes up. Very short progression, very weird progression, but it's progression nonetheless. Cars will be locked off until you get into the certain car collection level. It shouldn't take too long. I'm 12 hours into the game, and I've pretty much unlocked all the cars, so I'm halfway. I'm not even halfway through the career mode yet. I'm just before the halfway point. So realistically, there is progression there, but chances are if you play the game like just at all, you're probably gonna get past the progression like it's not even there. There's a few cool things they've done with the dealers. There's like a special dealer now, which is like kind of cool, where you can get specific cars. For example, the one of the R33 LM car was in there recently on launch, so that was a thing. It's good to see that progression is returning, even if it is like relatively light. I'm not going to sit here and say it's the best progression we've seen in a sim racer, because it's not, but it's definitely good that they've actually brought it back. I do want to say the career mode's a bit weird though. The career mode progression's a bit weird, so you can jump in any car, which again, I don't really have a problem with that, to be honest. It's just weird, like how everything's set up and then how everything's homologated. The career mode's very, I don't want to say confusing. Confusing is the wrong word. It's not really confusing. It's just a bit weird. Moving on from that, you will also get solid frames on this game. Obviously, you can't tell because I'm using an old Elgato, but I am getting 60 frames pretty much constantly. I didn't have any dips, or any noticeable dips at least. So frame rate and the graphics and everything visually is going to look aesthetically pleasing. There's really no problems with this game from a visual standpoint. I've got nothing but good things to say from a visual standpoint. That's really, really good. And that pretty much rounds it up for the good points. The career mode's really, really good. You know, there's room for improvement for sure, but it's nice to see them actually making progression with that. I don't know why they didn't talk more about that in some of the pre-release stuff at E3 and at Gamescom. You know, the game looks gorgeous. It runs at a solid 60. Car list is good, sounds are good. You know, they have little kind of like snippets from actual real life car people as well before races, which is really cool. So I know I heard Tanner Faust as well as a few Porsche guys in there, so which is really cool. So yeah, that's one thing which was kind of interesting, which just to see was you know, they actually have IRL like commentary before you go into races, talking about like car control or, you know, pit strategies and stuff, which is really, really cool. Again, it's not going to make or break the game, but it's one of those things that is cool to see is actually in there, and it's one of those things that you definitely like, it just adds to the atmosphere of the game. So with that being said, we're going to go ahead and move on to the bad points. Now the bad points, realistically, there's kind of a lot of small things which add up. There's not one major glaring thing. I mean, there's a few major glaring issues, but for the most part, it's a bunch of little things added up to become kind of a point, really. Number one, loading times. Oh my god. So this isn't like GTA, it's not like Need for Speed where once you're in the race, you're in the race. Like, every loading screen is so fucking long. I don't understand. I swear the last one wasn't, the last game didn't have long loading screens like this, and it's, I don't get it, because essentially you get to this one screen, and when you get to this one screen, you have to wait for it to load. It loads in, and you get the same screen, but in the pits. And if you're at this screen, you actually can't even press B and back out until you've loaded in. And then you've got to do the whole process again if you want to get back into a race. It's really, really weird. The loading times have gone backwards. I don't understand how that's worked. Definitely a thing which needs to be improved or just completely overhauled, because I don't understand how they've managed to mess that up so badly. I mentioned this earlier, the progression isn't really proper progression. It's very, very weird progression. The career mode can get a bit stale at sometimes as well. In every single kind of series you have, there'll be like 3 showcases, one series you can do with any car of your choosing, and a bunch of specific ones. And that's pretty much it. You're not going to find any variation from or anything new that we haven't seen from Forza in the career mode. Everything in the career mode is or has already been there. For example, the bowling pin things that we've seen from Forza 3 and Forza 4. Another thing that I can say is the autocross, and autocross hasn't got its own separate mode like it did in the original Forza. So, you know, there's a lot of the things that have been recycled and repeated. Again, it depends on who you are as a person, if you're going to enjoy it or not, but I thought I'd just say, just in case, if you didn't already know anyway. There is a few cool showcase modes I've done so far. There was one when I was in an R8 Flying Lizard, which is the LM car, and I actually started at the back of the pack like a minute behind everyone else and had to kind of weave through the pack, and the further I got forward, the weaker the cars got, sort of thing. Really, really cool idea, really, really cool concept, but again, they're few and far between, and showcase events are a bit weird because you get the car at the end, and I just don't feel like that should be a thing. Another thing is there's no boss levels. You know, the way the game was kind of set up at the start, it made you think there's boss levels and stuff. There's no boss levels in the game. Once you are in and you do a series, you get the car at the bottom. That is not a boss race. I was under the assumption that this was a boss race. That's not the case. One thing which really annoyed me, really frustrated me, is the AI. There is a limit aggression option in the settings, but I found this to do absolutely fuck all. I turned it off and on, and it just seemed like the AI would have a laser line and then just go for it. I don't know what they're talking about with all this driver task stuff, but I don't see any difference. I've not seen any difference since they've implemented it. It seems like the AI is just brain dead. AI are retarded. That is one of the biggest glaring issues I have with this game. it's one of those things, it's a bit annoying really, because like when the game is literally built around racing, you can drift, and we're going to talk about that in a minute, but realistically the game wants you to race. And when I'm trying to take a line and AI are either braking way too early, they're like ramming me for no reason, trying to get into the line I'm in, it's just frustrating. And this leads me perfectly onto the whole drifting thing. For me, at least with Forza 6 anyway, that was what I spent the majority of time doing. Drifting. With Maple Valley and Suzuka being one of my favourite tracks of all time on games and just in real life, I was like, you know what, I'm looking really forward to getting into some online drift lobbies. I had this thing where I was like, I didn't plan to buy Forza 7, but now I've got it, I kind of wanted to get into the drifting thing again, and I want to actually get good at drifting. Little did I know, there's no drift hoppers. Not only is there no drift hoppers, as of now, there's also no King, there's no It, there's none of that stuff. All of the party modes and everything along those lines is gone. The hoppers, so you can get into like S-class races and A-class races and B-class races, all gone, and they've been replaced with this, and it makes no sense. They've been replaced with these specific car types which you can race in, so you can take a hatchback into these. I haven't even bothered going into the online because there is no drift lobbies, there's no King like hoppers, so what's the point? There is pretty much no multiplayer in this game, and if you're a drifting person, you're going to be so disappointed. Now, you can go into a private lobby and set up one with friends, but that's not really the point. When I'm playing this before launch and I just want to play with like other people, I just want to drift around, I can't do that, and it's just, unless you go into either free play or into a private lobby, you can't drift in this game. There's not even any drift events in the career mode, which is really confusing because I thought they would have been. There's one event where you one-on-one with Ken Block. You'd think if you were with Ken Block and you were one-on-one in Ken Block, it would be a drift event or a rally event, and it's neither of those. It's literally just a normal race. So drifting is just something which has been completely neglected by Forza. Really disappointing in my opinion, because it's one of my favorite things to do, and I was really hoping that this wasn't going to be neglected because they did have such a big focus on the career mode and the racing. There's pretty much like there is a drift mode, but unless you go searching for it, you're really like, if you're a drifter, you're going to be disappointed by how the game presents it to you. You know, the fact that there's no drift lobbies in itself makes me want to go play Forza 6, and it's like, that's really disappointing. The career mode can get very repetitive as well. That's one thing I forgot to mention earlier on. The career mode can get very repetitive. It is a lot of the same thing over and over and over again, and you'd argue, oh, isn't every racing game that? Yes, but no. I feel like it's just copy and paste from one championship to another one. Like, the fact that every single thing has the same layout is really weird. And each car type, so, you know, you might remember from Horizon, there's different car types. So you have like SUV, and then you'll have like classic SUV, and you'll have muscle, and you'll have modern muscle. They're really weird, and some of them are really lacking cars. You'll go into some of the actual types, and it will be ram-packed with loads of different types of cars, and then you'll go into another, and you might have one or two. It's very, very odd. Building the game around that, I think, was a bad idea. They've got a lot of cars, but with that being said, to split it up so much like they did, it's kind of hindered the game because you don't get much choice in some of the classes, which is really annoying. Now we're going to go on to my last 2 points, and I know this has been a long video, but you know, these are things which I kind of wanted to talk about. Yeah, we're going to the last 2 things. So DLC is always going to be one of my biggest issues with Forza. Be prepared to, if you're going to buy this game, to either get an Ultimate Edition and have a car pass, which will end, and then they will have more DLC after that car pass, or be willing to just buy the car pack separately if you want the full experience. DLC has been such a big issue with Forza since for as long as I can, as long as the Xbox Live Store has been a thing, it's been a huge problem. That's going to continue. We can already see it continuing with the Fast and Furious pack. I'm pretty sure there was 2 DLC packs before the game even came out. And these DLC packs, it's not like Need for Speed where you just get the cars early and it's like a time saver pack. These are actual content packs which you don't have access to unless you buy them early or get your hands on it some way. These are things that you will need to deal with, and not only just that, usually they add microtransactions in a few months after launch, but now, well, it looks like they're going to be doing it a lot sooner. So you can buy crates in this game. I'm sure everyone's heard about VIP crates and the whole thing about that. Essentially, crates are how you get driver gear and a few other things. Driver gear means nothing to me. To be honest, I'm just using the Forza 4 one they gave me because it's just, I don't care. But essentially, crates are like the microtransactions in the game. Again, they don't really mean much. You could probably miss it out and it's like whatever, but they're there. I've got nothing really to say about the crates. I just think it's a bit pointless. Horizon Edition cars come back again and they're in these crates, and it's just one of those things, unless you're really deep into the driver gear stuff, I don't really care too much. Overall, as to kind of wrap up this review, if you're willing to cope with the DLC problems that we are having with Forza currently. If you're willing to get past the lack of drift, like a lot of lobbies and hoppers and all that kind of stuff, if you're willing to like go through the career mode, this seems like a game you are enjoying, and if anything I've said hasn't turned you off, buy Forza 7. If you're on Xbox One and you're only on Xbox One, you're not on PC, you're not on PS4, I would recommend it, just because it is another racing game coming out. But with so many other races around the horizon, I'd keep your eyes open. GT Sport is literally just around the corner. The demo for that's coming out later this month. So if you're on PS4, you've got that. You've got Project Cars on PC, which I'm still yet to try. There's a lot of other games that are coming out, which I think you should look at before Forza 7. There's a lot of problems with Forza 7. There's also a lot of good things, but it's one of those things, it's a judgment between, it's one of those things that you kind of need to decide yourself. I'm not going to give a score. I don't think scores are like a good thing to do, because I'm always changing my mind on scores, and I'm always going to be changing my opinions on games. But what I've said here will probably stay true for the most part, unless things change. And that's pretty much all I have to say, really. You will be able to make a judgment after what I've said, whether this is a good or bad thing for you. If you like it and you like the things I've said, and that the good overweighs the bad, then fair enough. And then obviously vice versa, if the bad overweighs the good, then you can make a rational decision from there. But that's been my review for Forza Motorsport 7. What do you guys think? Let me know down in the comment section down below. But that's been it from me today. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, make sure to go ahead and hit the like, subscribe. I'll see you guys in the next one. You guys have an awesome, stay safe, and peace.